This is a video overview of my Slideways Karting Center race lineup program for CI 505. It was originally intended to make an entry list here and calculate the heat lineups, and then calculate the feature event lineups based on the results of the heats. But right now, I'm thinking I'm going to need another month to get all of that done. I have it though, so I can calculate the heat lineups. So I'm going to show you that much. And I figured a video overview is going to be a lot better way for me to explain this than a text overview. So I'll show you what I've got here. This is a current entry list. I have, you can see here, 29 drivers in my entry list. There are space for 60. So when a driver registers for the event, they're going to submit their name, and then there's a pill with a number in it that they draw, and the numbers are numbered 1 through 60. So you can see, like right here in my hypothetical scenario, there I am. When I did my pill draw, I drew a 25. This is used to set the heat lineups, and it's also used for a tiebreaker when calculating the feature event lineups. Here's what's going on the back end. I'm going to open up the developer's console here. So I have an array being made, and every driver that's entered gets entered into this array. So array position 0 is going to be Steve Jobs, who is currently the first entry in there. Array position, I don't know what array position I'm going to be right now. It would be numerically whatever I am. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I think 14 is where I would be. Not quite, 13. Okay, so there I am. There's my name, there's my draw. I'm in the array position 13. Every driver that gets added to this array, it's going to be added to the array in the correct position. So if I had, let's see, so here's me in 25, I'm in array position 13, and my dad Jim there drew 28, he's in array position 14. If someone were to draw number 26, that would bump that person to array position 14. Okay, so that's how that would work. I'm going to demonstrate here really quickly adding Steve into this. So I'm going to do, there's Steve, you're going to draw number 1, and you're going to be added into, you're going to end up being in array position 0. Right now, array position 0 is Steve Jobs, because he's the very first person to be drawn. But now, look at my next array. There it is, array position 0. There you are, and you drew a 1. Now I have 30 entries. 20 to 30 entries is normal. I have space in the table for actually 40 entries. I mean, there are 60 places here, but I have heat position spaces for 40 entries right now. All right, so the next thing that needs to happen to go to the next page is to print the driver names. And what happens here, that turns the entire array into a string that is going to be stored in the browser's session storage for this. So I can see here underneath resources, session storage. Okay, here is a string that is set up the exact same as the array, and yeah, set up the same way as the array, has all the information, but only strings, I found out, can be saved to session storage, so I had to convert it into a string. Okay, when I click this link here to heat lineups, boom, the next page takes care of it all now. So I have, there you are up there, you drew a 1. Now we can see in numerical order I have 30 entries, and oh shoot, what happened here? How come my heats didn't fill in correctly. It was working a second ago, so let's see if I can... You're going to watch me debug this. Okay, let me look in the console here. Let me see what I figured out. They would fill in the heats here. Let's see if I can figure out why they didn't. This is... Hold on a second here. All right, so there's my heats, and there's the script for my heats. This is what puts them in the lineup. Okay, 34. Okay. So something's gone wrong with my driver array is what it looks like. It can't get the name value from my driver array. Now this is weird because I had it working earlier. Okay, I think I know what's going on. We're going to do... I'm going to get rid of this value, see if that's... Okay. That's not it either. I'm going to stop the recording until I figure this out, and then I'll come back and tell you what happened. Okay, I figured out what was going on right here. So I have a for loop in my script, and basically this is looping through my array, and I had a less than or equal to sign right here. And so it was going to loop through all of this for as long as my array is. So if I have 30 entries in my array, it will do this 30 times. Because I had less than or equal to, though, what it's actually doing is, and I don't understand exactly why yet, that's something I need to look into a little bit more, but what I think it's doing is it's looping through my array one more time than what my array length is. So I got rid of the equal to sign and saved that there. And when I loaded my page, and I'll even reload my page, I get this. So here is the entry list. First, it's in just what the draw order is. Okay, so the 30th entrant is Josh Betton, but he drew a number 55. And then that is filled into these tables right here. So you can see Steve drawing a 1 becomes the, or being the lowest draw order, becomes the pole sitter of heat 1. Steve Jobs is the second draw order, becomes pole sitter of heat 2. Nate Van Haften, heat 3. Trevor Bain, heat 4. Jordan Murphy is the fifth lowest draw. He drew an 8, but he's fifth lowest draw, becomes pole sitter heat 5. And then Bill Gates is the sixth lowest draw. He becomes second place in heat 1. Okay, so that fills in everything there. The way I accomplish that is in this spot in the code. So here is the HTML code for heat 1. So here is the place where the lowest draw would go. There's a place where the sixth lowest draw would go. 11th, 16th, 21st, 26th, 31st, 36th. Okay. And you can see my heat 2, heat 3 tables. They're all there. Okay. Now, here is what happens in, or to fill those in. Here's my script to fill in the lineup. All right, so what it does, here is a for loop. So it creates a variable called I, starts that variable out at 0. As long as the drive array length, or as long as I is less than the drive array length, and then it adds 1 to I every time. What it's doing here, it's logging to the console the name of the driver in the drive array position that I is. So right now I is 0. The name of the driver in drive array position 0, it's going to log that to the console. I use that to debug it just to make sure it was working correctly, and this is where it's logging everybody's names to the console. That's just a tool for me to debug it, make sure everything is working correctly. Okay, and now I've created a variable called place, which is equal to I plus 1. The reason why is right here. This table column has an ID of 1. That is where I want the lowest draw position to go. Now, I could have called it 0 to match it up with the array position, but I didn't want to because it keeps it better in my head to know that this is the first place starter. This is the 6th place. Okay, so then what I did, I had to look up how to do dynamic selector names in jQuery. This is a jQuery script, but this is basically selecting. So this line right here is telling the script to put the name of the driver in the array position equal to the variable I into this space right here. And when it does so, it looks like that. The second line is for the invert. So after all the heats are run again, but the starting positions are inverted. So if we look, we have Steve starting first in heat 1. When heat 1 is inverted, Steve starts last in heat 1. Donnie Schott starts last in heat 1. When that's inverted, he starts first. Okay, so what I did for that is I made a, where's my invert 1? Okay, so there's my invert 1, and I have it with an ID of I36. I1 standing for invert 36, invert 1. And right here I have my dynamic selector name, and then it's appending the same value. So that's how my project works right now. With as long as it took me to figure this out, I imagine it's going to take me longer than I have left in the class to get the rest of it done, and I still have one project to go. I think this is where the project is going to have to stand right here. You said I could turn in something that works. I think I have a good chunk of it that works here. The next thing I'd have to do is figure out, I do have a place where you can put points in here, but figure out how to assign points to every driver's finishing position and then use those points to come up with their feature lineup positions. So I kind of have a structure in my head, but we'd have to see how it plays out when I start writing the script for that, and it's probably going to take me a couple of weeks to do that. The biggest limitation, I think, here is the inability to actually save this information to the computer. Let's say the computer crashes in the middle of the night. We're going to lose all of our data, and then they're all mad at me because I'm the one who wrote the program. In order to save the data to the computer, I need to learn how to use PHP, which is probably going to completely change the structure of what I've written. So that's one big limitation to this. And in fact, I might even say that they should just print this out and use this and then calculate the feature events like they normally would. But that is a summary of how this project works.